to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshuk. We are continuing our Triple Crown coverage right now with Reload, who we talked about the Kentucky Derby with. He gave us some great advice. I know I tailed some of his advice for matchup props in the Kentucky Derby and won some money. And now we're going to talk about the Preakness Stakes coming up this weekend. Reload, thanks for being here once again.
Great to be back again, Peter. Thanks.
All right, let's get right into it. Now, the first thing about the Preakness is that Pimlico is commonly thought of as a speed-favoring track, but when you look at the actual winners of the Preakness, about half of them have come from off the pace, according to my numbers here, and about a third of them stalk the pace. So it's actually a race that does not favor speed. Is that how you see it?
Sure, Peter. I still look for closers to win the Preakness. Certainly some horses have done it wire to wire before. But in the end, it still is a distance race, and you still have to look for the closing kick.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk about the first horse that I want to talk about. If a horse is going to win this one wire to wire, it's probably going to be Bodemeister. Bodemeister set amazingly fast fractions in the Kentucky Derby and was actually hanging on the lead pretty late and just got caught at the very end. What do you think about Bodemeister's chances of maybe just winning it wire to wire here?
Well, Bodemeister is definitely the horse to beat here, and he will likely go off as the betting favorite despite not winning the Kentucky Derby. I do think, though, it's going to be tough coming back on the 2-week layoff and also coming further east here. Still not really worth taking at the low odds, and I'm going to look elsewhere for some better value.
All right. Well, what about the Kentucky Derby winner? I'll have another. You know, I'll have another also won the Santa Anita Derby, beating a Creative Cause. And you know, I get the sense just from what I'm reading that that people are not going to be betting that he's going to win the Preakness. They think it was a little bit of a fluke in the Derby, which does often happen when you have a big long shot that wins a Derby. He'll come back and then be a long shot again in the Preakness. What do you think of I'll have another here? You think he's likely to be overvalued, undervalued, or appropriately valued?
I think he's going to be overvalued here. The closing dash he made in the Kentucky Derby was certainly something, but I do think it's a lot to ask for it to happen again. And I'm going to avoid him here and maybe even fade him in some matchups as well.
All right. Well, those are the two horses that I wanted to get your specific opinion about. What horses in the entire field coming up so far are looking like they might have some value to you?
I've picked out 3 actually, and first one's going to be Went the Day Well. Here's a horse that had career high speed in the Derby despite the tough trip he had there. I think he's going to be one to watch here in the Preakness. He's really blooming at just the right time, I would say.
Okay.
For a couple of long shots that I'm going to also include, I'm going to put part of my bankroll on Teeth of the Dog. Teeth of the Dog, kind of coming in under the radar here. He was not in the Kentucky Derby, didn't have the earnings for it, but finished nicely in the Wood Memorial. And he had to go 4 wide in the Wood and might get a better trip here in Pimlico. He's also going to keep Joe Bravo aboard, who has won his share of races on the East Coast. So looking forward to seeing how Teeth of the Dog does here. I'm also going to put some money on Daddy Knows Best. Daddy Knows Best was one of my Derby long shots, and Asmussen is going to bring him here in the Preakness again. Asmussen, of course, has won the Preakness twice. He won it with Kerwin. He won it with Rachel Alexandra. So I think he's pretty hard to ignore here, getting a high price. Mike Watchmaker at Daily Racing Forum has priced him at 15 to 1 here. That's probably about what he'll go off at. And that's a nice, that's some solid value for Asmussen bringing him here. He's also going to get Leparoux back aboard, who jumped off of him in the Derby. And now he's coming back on board, and he had a lot of success of riding him leading into the Derby. So I think it's a huge plus getting him back, and he'll be one to watch.
All right, so we haven't mentioned Creative Cause, though. Now, we did talk about him in the Derby as likely having value, and he came in 5th, and I actually did make some money with him in matchup props. The horse I picked him against, he wound up beating. You know, he's run a triple-digit buyer. He lost the Santa Anita Derby by a nose. You know, maybe he's, you know, again, we talked about him. He may be a head case horse who doesn't like to win, but always runs pretty well. So maybe he'll be a good bet in matchup props again. What do you think?
I would agree with that, Peter. And I think he's got the same closing kick here that's going to cash most of the matchup tickets. So he's definitely a good matchup candidate, and he's probably going to get plus odds in his matchups against some of the top contenders.
All right, so you kind of liking Went the Day Well and Creative Cause and matchup props. You have any horses that you might be looking to bet him against who are going to be in the same range that may be overvalued?
Well, I'll have another is definitely going to be overvalued in matchups. That's probably the key fade I'm going to be looking at in matchups. Probably be overvalued in those. I'm going to stay away from matchups involving Bodemeister.
Yeah.
Obviously, whoever he's matched up against is going to get sizable plus odds. It's going to look tempting,
Right.
but I'm going to pass because I do respect Bodemeister enough to avoid going against him in matchups.
Absolutely, I agree with you. All right, well, this is a lot of information to digest, but I think we got some great advice here. As always, Reload, thanks once again, and I'll talk to you for the Belmont.
You're welcome, Peter. Good luck, everyone.